Welcome to SYNKD On Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and thank you for joining us today. Today is a little bit different in that we're taking a talk from our recent SYNKD Live 2025 event. Franco opened the event back in January in Atlanta, and just thought that his message was really important for the landscape industry as a whole to listen to understand, and to hear his background. What I love about what Franco has founded is that he was in a small market and wanted to build a luxury brand. I've heard a lot of business owners say, well, I'm barely surviving, or I can't charge that much because my market doesn't allow it. Or, I look at the people around me and I can't justify spending more on or charging more for my services. What Franco and his family, the brand that he launched, Design Source, did is they crafted their own luxury brand. They wanted to deliver something much more high-end than anyone did around them. So you could say that there wasn't a market for what they were doing, but that was incorrect. Really, you craft what you do as a specialty, and then you're in a league on your own. I want our industry, business owners, to realize that that's a really important lesson, that you have the key to do this. You have control of this, and really you just need to take control and lead the way. Your market will come. As I think there's a phrase saying, if you build it, they will come. But is that Field of Dreams or something like that? But it really is an inspiring story. So I hope you enjoy listening to Franco and learn a lot from this talk that he did at SYNKD Live 2025. Thanks for listening.
Okay, so what we want to do is share our story in hopes that a lot of you, I'm sure, are in landscape. You may get into more outdoor living, structures. We are definitely into technology outdoors. So I don't probably recommend that you try and do everything we do, but I'm hoping you could pick up some pieces to show you how you can expand your business. As I traveled, I was born in the Keys. I've only worked for the family company. Done a lot of jobs. As I've traveled with Coastal Source, and we have about 1,000 dealers throughout the U.S., what I heard a lot was, your product is a little high-end for us. My market is very small. The people can't afford it. I really can't grow. And what I want to show you is we are in a microscopic market of the Florida Keys, okay? And I truly believe the projects you'll see, if given to one of our competitors, would be half or less. Okay? But based on our reputation, our capabilities, our facilities, our portfolios, the people that have money kind of let you run with it. And there's a lot to that, right? But we didn't have the choice. So we are real estate brokers. We are architects, engineers, landscape architects, interior designers, okay? As you'll see, we own our own nurseries. The showroom is 25,000 square feet. It's a design center, right? So we're in such a tiny market that we have to find the right customers, and hopefully they find us, and we have to sell them everything, okay? Because otherwise our business would be quite small to support our staff and our family. So we believe that we've created a micro business, okay, that is very sizable. We're one of the biggest employers and companies in the Keys other than government agencies. So let's take a look at a little bit of our work. So when you see some of the projects that will come up, short videos, every single thing we did. So we built that pool. We designed it, engineered, we built it. We grew the palm trees, all the outdoor furniture, all the technology, the automation, the Wi-Fi, the audio-visual, all those things are done in-house. And there's a lot of advantages to that. There's a couple disadvantages we'll talk about too. But the projects stand out. When you look at the videos, if you look at the houses around our projects, you'll see they're really no match, right? And that's what kind of the standard is in the Keys. But we've been fortunate to build a pretty nice portfolio. Alrighty, so when you're able to pull all those things together, we've won a lot of national, international awards. So I'll tell you that I do not believe we're the best architects, the best landscape architects, the best pool builder, the best landscaper, all right? But when we can pull all those things together, the way they flow, the way they come together, the way there's no pointing of fingers, a lot of clients really love that. They write us a lot of checks, but if there's a problem, it's design sources problem. So one throat to choke, and that really helps. But also the synergy of how those things go together. And we've gotten a lot of compliments on that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our history. We pretty much started from zero and kind of the progression. We've been doing this for a long time. So I've never worked for anyone else. I just have a 2-year degree in electronics. I have a lot of experience doing things, digging holes, doing electrical work, doing concrete work. Cast stone was one of our first businesses. And I think one of our advantages is that I've really sat in every position, be it the laborer, the technician, the designer, the engineer, the owner, all the aspects of what business is and the client. So that really helps us. But anyway, we have an interesting background. Franco D'Ascanio was my grandfather's cousin. And he is the inventor of the Vespa. Okay, so a lot of engineering in the family. One of my uncles worked on the Apollo program. So there's definitely a history of engineering and design in the family. He was also one of the first for helicopter patents. Okay, so he's also an aeronautical engineer. So my parents came from Italy straight to the Keys. Kind of an interesting journey, pretty much with a suitcase. That's pretty much all they had to their name, but they had a fantastic work ethic that I believe they instilled in us. So in 1958, they came over. He started in maintenance, property maintenance, and the owners, which in the Keys back then these were fishing camps. Wealthy people would come down from up north. Great place to fish. They bought all the most beautiful properties, put a little house on them. And a lot of the houses you'll see are the ones that we've torn down because they were on the best piece of properties and put them in. So they asked for some walls, concrete walls. So he's very innovative. He made some plywood forms and made blocks. And then that spun into, well, I don't really want to do maintenance anymore. We'll do concrete products. So this is our first house on the left there. So that is a plywood shack that was 8 foot by 12 foot, sand for a floor, and a screen for a window. And my mom tells us stories about there's so many mosquitoes that they would paint the screen with oil so the mosquitoes wouldn't come in, but then you had no breeze. My brother was actually born in that building. There was no hospital. Now, that's an oceanfront piece of property. 300 feet, very valuable now. Back then it was dirt cheap, literally. There's a concrete business, and that's what we grew up. My working age started at about 8, and that's filling buckets of aggregate, then starting to put molds together. And very interesting, some of the things we did, the molding, the tooling. My mom was a seamstress. You'll see how that kind of parlayed into the future business growth. 1968 or so, we moved from Grassy Key to Marathon, which is like a city. Well, it's tiny. It's like, 10,000 people. But in the Keys anyway, this is our first house there at the bottom. And then this was our cast stone yard. That's our family on the front patio. Obviously, everything was home cooked, etc., but very hard working and interesting. So next door, you're going to see our new facility later on. But my mom, who has a very beautiful oceanfront home, my father passed away in 95. She lived there for a while, and then she decided she wanted to move back to the factory. So she now lives here, and you'll see how this has grown. But every day she's over for coffee and things like that. So the family is very close. This is as the company starts expanding forward. Our house moves upstairs, and then you'll see as the showroom moves forward. Back then, there wasn't much OSHA, so this is actually where we're standing to the left there, and you'll see we have no shoes standing on rebar with ties. OSHA was not a big thing then. This is actually the coastal source. That was a ornamental cement products, tile, cabinetry, and our AV store, and that's now Coastal Source's R&D facility in the Florida Keys. Dad and Mom making molds, and everything we do at Coastal is tooled from scratch. It's designed, engineered, tooled from scratch, right? We don't buy anything for anyone else, even if you get down to speaker cones, right? Because our logo is defying the elements. So from a performance standpoint and from an outdoor durability standpoint, you can't take off-the-shelf stuff. But a lot of the things we did back in the original taught us how to do things. Fiberglass, molding, toolings, things like that. All right, so where we were standing out there, that we decided that we wanted to get into technology. And to be honest with you, I kind of wanted to do that because concrete I didn't see as my long-term future. So this is our first design center, which was carpeting, tile, cabinetry, lighting, and then sound source, which was AV and technology and automation. As we evolved, we moved to a more retail location. Car audio was very big back in the 80s and 90s. We were some of the leading companies of doing custom installations. So my mom being a seamstress and us having fiberglass capabilities, we would rebuild the interiors of homes, of cars, the back dashes, the door panels, custom speakers, leather wrap, things like that. And car audio is pretty intense. There would be automated panels. We'd have people come down from many states for competitions, hundreds of cars. And but working in a car, taking it apart and putting it together without rattles and spare parts and things like that is quite a craft, actually. And you'll see some of those things in Coastal Source of what we learned decades ago. So this is our shop. We built speakers. That's not me, but I built my first speaker in that room when I was 13 years old. It's the same room that you'll see the Coastal speakers came out of. So we've been doing the same thing for a long time in the same place. It's just grown and grown and grown. But we've been in these things for a very long time. A lot of people consider us to be a lighting company that added audio. Lighting and audio started very early. My first speaker at 13, my first lighting automation system was also at 13. So then Design Source became, so out of the AV store and the interiors and cast stone and all that, so at one point we had landscape business, we had 2 audio stores, we had our tile and interior design stores, we had our contracting company and design company. A building became available that you'll see in a little bit here where we could combine all those businesses. And that's where we changed it to the name of Design Source, which is now a one-stop destination instead of all the separate buildings. So this is Design Source now. So this is right next to that original building that we're talking about. So to the left of this is actually all of Coastal Source's R&D, engineering, all that. And this is our 25,000 square foot design center. There, a person can come in. As an example, we did the past CEO of Disney's house, okay? And very limited on time. But they come in and we can do everything. So they'll have meetings. We've been doing Zoom-type meetings for 3 decades. About 1% to 2% of our customers are full-time residents. Okay, these are all vacation homes. So when they come in, they want to be effective. They don't want to go to 8 or 10 different facilities, and everything's there. Kitchens are there, audiovisual, theater, all your furniture, all your fixtures, all your finishes. Everything is there as a kind of a dream center. We own a nursery, so usually when we get involved with things, we get involved deep. And I can remember it's probably 30 years ago where me and my brothers were standing back from a new project, and we said, our architecture's coming along really nicely. But we had the same 6 to 10 plants that everybody else had, okay? Because we use the same subcontractor as our competitors. And we decided to start learning. Well, we now have a 20-acre nursery in Palm Beach, and we grow 500 species of palms, specimens, okay? Now, we also grow tropicals and cycads and things like that, but we grow very unusual plants, hard to grow stuff, because our clients really enjoy having something different. They don't want what everybody else has. And then they get emotionally involved. We have a tour coming up called Palms in Paradise. We take our clients to 5 to 6 estate properties where they can see the whole picture, the outdoor living, all that. And that's when you separate from, wow, this $5,000 tree is really expensive, to, I love this environment. I want this. Other people have spent this money. On our residential properties, it's not uncommon to have the landscape, softscape, $1 million, $2 million plus, okay? And that's with putting in really good stuff, and taking care of it. So, like I said, we dig in deep usually. Coastal Source, we started out of a need. So when we opened the Design Center, the Design Source Design Center, we also opened to other designers coming in, landscape architects, contractors, etc. So our sales of products went up substantially. Our failure on outdoor products was through the roof. Okay, so we invested in salt test chambers, UV, abrasion, materials, etc., testing, to go to our manufacturers to ask them to build better products. And pretty much and I traveled, I'm not going to say the world, but other countries and throughout the U.S. trying to get manufacturers. And they pretty much said, it's a small niche market. People throw things away. They don't really care. They're not going to pay more. We think you're on the right track. Good luck. So we started building in 2003 products, outdoor audio, lighting, hardware, just for Design Source projects, just for us. Okay? Really no intention on selling it to others. Well, since these are vacation homes and people fell in love with the Coastal Source products, they wanted it for their Connecticut home or their Chicago or their California, etc. So we started getting calls from installers, contractors, that said, hey, I love it, but I'd like to sell it, not just install your products. And that's when we took about another 3 years in R&D only, spent millions, to develop a line that we felt was appropriate. We also do self-development. So our number one favorite category, okay, is outdoor living. So if you look at a project that is the first one we looked at there, that's probably $8 million project. Okay? If we had our choice, we would just do that outdoor environment. If you look at the cost, the overhead, the skill set that's required indoors versus outdoors, night and day difference. So that's why we've ramped up, and customer demand, how much we put outdoors. In the beginning, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it was a nice house and a fairly basic landscape, basic pool. And we said, you know what? The keys are about outdoor living. Let's see how we can push that limit. And you'll see we've pushed the limits pretty darn far. But self-development is also great because our projects are extremely custom, okay, with very wealthy, very powerful clients. And these, we build them and we sell them. They move in, it's done. So we can fast track these while we do these custom projects. So we try and have a balance of jobs, because at some points, specs are not great when the market's not good. So the custom's there. At the same time, the custom, we have a limited bandwidth. Even though we have about 75 people at Design Source, we can still own it. The pipeline is those jobs are so intense, we can only do so many of those. So we have these other businesses to fill in. There's a marina project. So this took, in the Keys, 15 years since we bought that to permit it, get it through all the regulations, and be able to build it. So we're in a pretty environmentally sensitive and challenging environment. All right, so that's me and my two brothers. So we're G2, Generation 2 we call it. We started on the ground with G1, my parents, right? But we're generation 2, and we have 6 of our generation 3 that work in the company. Architect, landscape architect, engineer, interior designers, general contractors. So we're really fortunate that we have a lot of family members, and we haven't killed each other yet. It actually works out pretty good. But yeah, we have a responsibility to our staff, to our family, to grow the business. And it's not easy in a tiny market to grow the business. So again, back to what I was saying, as I travel and people are telling me how their market does not have the potential, I don't really believe that's true. And I've seen, especially coastal dealers, kind of turn things around. You have to have all those things we talk about, the portfolio, the capabilities. You really stand out from the crowd when you're talking to a customer and you can offer all these services and you know what you're talking about. That's a very powerful tool. And a lot of people are a little cautious in the beginning, that first budget, but most of them, if you got the right kind of clients, once they got that trust and they see what your capabilities, they can really let you ramp things up. There's a lot of great quotes. One of my best quotes is, we built a house on a beach, beautiful, great customer, and gave a party to all our key people. One of the first times that me and my brother got substantial bonuses. Usually our staff gets them. And at the end, he brought us up and he said, I just want to congratulate you on how happy we are with this house, and that you exceeded our unlimited budget. And he was happy about it. Okay, so we really like that. Okay, so some of the specs. We've been in business for 65 years. We've done over 2,000 major projects. We actually did our 2024th project in 2024. 49 islands, including the Caribbean. We really can't take our full facility and capabilities and go, our customers, when we build a house for them, they want us to go to Palm Beach or Connecticut or wherever. It's not feasible. That's one of the problems. This business is not scalable as a total. Outdoor living, it probably is. And then we've done millions of square feet of outdoor living, entertainment, those kind of things. All right, our market, and this is where I was talking about. We are not in a wealthy market. There's definitely pockets, and I think we've helped develop that. The Keys are 110 miles long with 72,000 people. Okay, so it's, and the construction overall business is a local market. We get about, north we can get 25 to 50 miles, south about 25 miles. And other than that, then other contractors take over because it's a local business. So that's one of the disadvantages. You're not going to, as far as I'm concerned, you're not going to try and reach a huge geography. But it is a very small market, very few people that are in our target range. So we have to dominate, and we do dominate our market. So that's part of our staff. And again, all the services. So we have the licensing, we have all the services, a lot of confidence, the facility, when business is good and people open our front door, they're like, wow, this place is really great. When the economy's terrible, like in 2010, they open the door and go, I must be in the wrong place, right? So you got to be careful on how you do that, obviously. But not spending a lot of time with the wrong customers is pretty important. Another thing that took us decades to learn is no. No is a very powerful word, okay? So with us, if you're doing landscape or it's a $5 million project and you're doing $500,000, let's say. Well, with us, it's a $5 million project. It's $5 million for us. And we're stuck with it when we start it, right? So it's very important, and we have an advantage. We're in that with that customer for 6 months in advance. Architecture, the landscape architecture, all those things. So we get a pretty good feel of if that customer is going to be a real challenge or if they're going to be a good customer. And we've fired customers. Now, I didn't do that for my first decades of dealing with them, and I paid the price. And it's not an easy thing to do, to turn away millions of dollars. But boy, in a lot of cases, you're way better off turning that down, doing good work if you can, if you've got that sense. So no is just as important as yes. Use it sparingly. Another project. So this was a remodel. So we do that's the old one. So house and then guest house. So house on the ocean, guest house on the canal side. So they have boating and they have ocean. So if you look at the house like to the left there, see how small some of the other houses are? We grow and bring in mature landscapes. Our people don't want to be waiting 5 years for something to grow. So when these customers come in, it's fully furnished, artwork's on the wall, wine cooler stocked. If it's Christmas, a lot of them have us bring in the massive Christmas trees with our crane sometimes. So we offer those services because they're very busy. Time is of the essence. So yeah, and then some customers, they've only spent a few days with us. And it's a little scary when they come and see their house that's complete, but luckily they've always enjoyed it. And then outdoor, indoor living is very important. So this place here, all those windows completely stack. We've done them up to 32 feet where the windows in the corner pull away the doors, and it's just cantilevered. Right? So we're very much about doing cutting edge stuff. We try and avoid bleeding edge, but we're not scared to try some pretty advanced things. All right, so what are the advantages of turnkey? Seamless client experience, consistent quality. About 2005-ish or so, we were 150 people. We had all the concrete people, all the ditch diggers, all that. The Keys is an expensive place to live. So now we have about 75, and we have two contractors, a concrete shell contractor and a landscape contractor, that supply us 25 to 100 people a day. They come from Homestead, okay? And those positions were, number one, our highest liability and workman's comp. And number two, you couldn't afford to live in the Keys. But now we have all the finished people. So we have the carpenters, the tile setters, all the technology people, project managers, design, engineering. All that is in-house, where we think that's where the main critical path is. But we can expand and contract our crews where we couldn't at 150. And there's, custom homes with changes all the time, environmental impacts, permitting was a major problem for us. We maybe had, I think one time we had 17 finished carpenters. Sometimes they're sweeping floors. So that was a big adjustment for us. We've never laid anyone off, but through attrition, we got down to 75 or 80, and that works really well for us. But if you look at our actual crew, it's 100 plus on a day. Disadvantages if you don't do it well, because there's always disadvantages, and we like to be honest about that. We are very open. I'll give you an example. So I'm a real estate broker because some of our clients want us to find the property for them. If there's a realtor involved, we'll do all the work. We will hand that commission over to that realtor. Realtors give us a lot of business, okay? Same thing with a landscape architect, right? We'll build their work if a customer wants to use them. So we try and be very open and friendly to all the trades. But obviously, if you don't handle that right, you're not going to get any referrals, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. But overall, it's a really interesting model, I think, where you can specialize, and especially if you're in a market that is not saturated with those type of trades. Project we just finished. This was done. So this project, 100% from a design overview, construction, finishing, project management, was done by my son, Nick, who's a landscape architect. His value is too high for him just to do landscaping, right? So everything you see on this project was his baby, including the client. So it's a single-family residence. The pools, there's many. There's a linear view pool. There's a saltwater pool. There's a real lazy river. There's a volleyball court in it. The main swimming pool. It's about 10,000 square feet of pools on this project. In the last 5 years, we did one pool at about 8,000 square feet, one at about 8,500 square feet. This one's about 10,000. and huge amount of outdoor living. From a coastal perspective, so you know, this has about $500,000 worth of coastal storage on it. So we start, to give you an example for coastal storage, we start with speakers at about $350 each, fairly moderate, all the way to $10,000 each. Most people think you can't sell, even to wealthy customers, that kind of dollars. But our products are that good, but it's the demo. People have no idea. Don't ask them what they're going to spend first, but demo it, and you'll be shocked at what they will spend for quality. They have no idea. So you need to, again, our design center, our tours of estate properties, our demonstrations, including at our facility, and that we take the show on the road to our clients. Same with Coastal Source. We have 15 Sprinter vans on the road. And those are fully stocked to go to your facility for your people or to your clients. And we can guarantee you about a 95% close rate. But that's what it takes. It's not just, if it's like our plants. We got plants that are tens of thousands of dollars. If I put that on a plan and I tell the customer, they're like, are you kidding? Am I the guinea pig? I'll take a smaller, I'll take something else. But when you show them in the total context of everything, the buy-in is very strong. So there's a lot to actually getting those clients to upgrade. I know a lot of people, one of the things I think in our industry, in our landscape design build industry, is selling out of our own pocket. I make a good living. I have a client that makes 2,000 times as much as I do. Okay? So if I spend $2,000, it's like them spending $1. Okay? So keep that in mind, and I think you'll be surprised. The country, we call it a big country. As I traveled to all these dealers, it really opened up my perception that these pockets of wealth exist almost everywhere. Places I would never think were there. But you got to be in a position. A lot of, my partner in Coastal Source, we built his estate property. That's how we got together. He's like, I'm not into AV. Just give me a sound bar. I don't have a DVD player. Well, he ended up spending several $100,000 on his theater that was largely for his grandkids, but because he was exposed to it, he was shown the value. He saw how his family would really enjoy this, changes the dynamic. Grandkids really change the dynamic also. So Coastal, again, it came out of a need from our business. And what we try to do, so what our advantages, I think, you hear about all these things we do, so we know the projects inside and out. We also maintain these estate properties typically for decades. We are paid to go there, and this is my job decades ago. 2 decades ago, I was paid $195 an hour to go to a job and look for problems. Okay? It's a different mindset. So when we go on Palms in Paradise and you see these people gushing, and these are wealthy, qualified people that can buy whatever they want, gushing over the property, the landscape, the outdoor living, etc. When I go to that scene, it's refreshing to me because I was on that property looking for cracks and issues and lights that didn't work and, the interior automation and all those things, right? So our mindset of knowing what the problems are, okay, and dealing with them for decades in a very harsh environment. I've been through 13 hurricanes, okay? So the number one thing we came up with in the beginning, we said, okay, we're going to start with lighting because we think there's the biggest need there. Was the number one failure is underground connections. And connections are the number one failure of any electrical system. I don't care if it's the transmission lines out on the highway, if it's in your house or whatever, it's the connections that are a problem. So we really strive for putting everything we've learned in the last 60 years into Coastal Source from a owner's perspective, from a reliability, performance, saleability, ease of installation. Like most people here probably shouldn't be doing our competitors' audio. I can guarantee you can do our audio. It's plug and play. You cannot screw it up. Okay, we believe that's our responsibility to you, is to make it where it's not easily screwed up. So there's a lot that goes into for performance and things like that. And again, it's for an upper market. We are not, except for the top line speakers, we are not generally the extreme. So there's companies that are more expensive than us. We believe we deliver a lot of value, though. We have full design services. If you're a landscape architect, if you don't have a design department, if you have a design department, we have full design, presentation, layout services for you. We believe that, so our products, I can honestly say, are best in class in almost every category. I wouldn't say every product, but out of our 1,200 products, a very high percentage. That's about half the battle. Okay, you take that for granted. Our customer service, our designs, our 30,000 square foot of warehouse full of inventory so that when you sell a job, you can install it. Our reliability, the ease of installation, the lower skill set required, the number of systems you can install in a day, all those things are what we believe makes us a good partner. A new line we're introducing, actually it'll be coming out this month, called Evo. Very flexible. We've won tons and tons of awards. That's our line source speaker there. That won a international award. This is our R&D facility. So we start, like I mentioned, in that room where I built that first speaker. These speakers are made out of MDF, and then they evolve. And we do, the picture on the left is a proper scientific method where we build 3, 8, 10 speakers that are identical other than one change. The cone material, a crossover component, the enclosure material, the tweeter, etc. And then we analyze each step. And I'm surprised at how many manufacturers don't do that. But if you ever get the chance, come down and check out our R&D facility. We go through a lot of effort. It takes us years to produce these products. Testing, we do large-scale testing. Most people will test one speaker. We do a dozen plus. There's a lot of famous people that own these speakers. This is no secret, but LeBron James, he shows pictures of him with our speakers in the background. He has 58 of them, of those 3 ways, okay? So we have to test in large scale. Lighting is a little our audio, you pull up with one of our vans or you have one of our demo kits, 15 minutes, you're in business, right? Lighting's a little more difficult because it's at night. You got to kind of show it. So we've developed a system where you can do indoor, outdoor lighting demos. So it's fully scripted, and like this, we have the plant vendor for you, we have the automation system, we have the layouts, we have all those things so that if you want to really get into landscape lighting and outdoor audio, we've got all the tools for you, all the demo lists and things like that. And landscape lighting could be a huge bang for the buck, along with outdoor audio. Outdoor audio is maybe foreign to a lot of you, but it is a fast, big bang for the buck, extremely profitable. This is a new line called Razors. So we believe in modular and flexible. So when you're on a job, you can do a lot of things without having to order something specific. So you can build planters out of them. They're wall speakers. They've got lighting that'll be coming out soon. So the ability to do a lot of things with a product. But, there's lighting companies that add speakers to their stuff. There's speaker companies that add lighting. It's usually like an afterthought accent. We're really good at lighting and audio. Outdoor theaters. So profitability, as we have analyzed what it takes to build a project like that, we have an accounting system that we track about 500 different tasks. If a carpenter's hanging a TV, or if he's doing cabinets, if he goes to Home Depot and buys $8 worth of screws, we track that. We have a really good sense of what's profitable or not. And the reason we went into Coastal Source is we believe outdoor living done properly is the most profitable division of our company that does all these things. Okay? So when you look at it, again, the skill set is less, the precision, if you're putting landscape lighting in versus doing lighting inside of a ceiling and everything's symmetrical and fans and moldings and air conditioning and all that, outside our job is simple, right? So that's why Coastal will not plan on doing any interior stuff. Different business altogether, but very profitable. I encourage you to expand your maybe outdoor living experiences and what you offer to your clients. Dealing with the same client and selling them more is much better than getting new clients, and that trial and error and all the work that's involved up front. So this business model that we have, it's one client that go, and our average increase in a project is about 50%. And we're talking millions. That really adds up nicely. All right, so marketing. The Palms in Paradise Tour does a lot for us. The magazine on your table. It's very hard for us to explain what we do. There's the typical design build is going to be an architect and a contractor that work together. Okay, so some people will think of us furniture store, architect, contractor, landscape company, AV company. It's really hard to tell that whole story. The magazine, we produced 50,000 of those, and that tells our story. And we were shocked at how many people read it cover to cover. Okay? So you have to have a story, but it really, really helps. The other thing we do is we do a welcome to the Keys package, and complimentary demos, site visits, etc. If you go to your real estate office or the tax collector, you can get all the sales. And you can say, I want every vacant lot that was 700,000 or more, every house that sold for $1 million or more, and you get that data. That is our number one versus all the magazine's probably number one. All the other advertising we do, social media, all those things, that one thing gets us the most qualified leads. Okay, welcome to the Keys. We're here to help. Here's our services. We'd love to come out and meet you, even just talk about things. And then that opens the door. Really makes a big difference. Nice project. There's another picture of this, but really they wanted a Victorian house, but they wanted to be in Tahiti when they got out of their guest bedrooms. So really cool place. We like to stretch the limits, like I said, on creativity and stuff. But as I mentioned, if you're doing the landscape on this, why not do the audio and the lighting on it? Why not do the furniture? Why not do the outdoor kitchen, the pergolas? And I think technology is very important in this industry to grow. Okay, if you're doing pools or controls and stuff, you've got to be dealing with Wi-Fi, Pentair, Jandy, those kind of things, right? So why not expand that same thing? And I can guarantee you ours is going to be easier than Pentair or Jandy. But expand into that thing, in those things, because technology is with us regardless. I know a lot of people resist, and we're happy to help. We also have reps. We have John and Kevin here, very great at helping you, even with technology that's just associated with our products, right? It doesn't have to be just our products. So that's Bait Shack. So that's the property we're looking at with the bridges and things. But that pool's 8,000 square feet plus, 5 acres, about 8,000 plants. Fertigation, irrigation, we're doing all those things. Okay. Questions, anyone? Who wants to expand their business beyond what they're doing right now? Okay. What help do you need? What help do you need to expand into new categories? Yes. Who you partner with and relationships from your vendors, they need to back you up, right? I mean, I think you'll find that we back up our dealers very well, but you're going to run into issues, so I think that partnership is very important. And then being able to rely on them for the services you need. Like I mentioned, the design. So at first, you're going to be, wow, unless you're in the business already of audio and lighting. You're going to be looking at this, it looks overwhelming, right? Well, we have the ability to break that down and let us do almost all the work, right? You got to give us good information, but we do all the work. And then once you've done a few jobs, you can really run it on your own. Okay, anyone else? Yes. So it depends, we've got, how many independent reps do we have, guys? Dozen? Reps? About a dozen. So we don't cover the whole U.S. We cover a lot of it, and we have those vans. We do have our own sales staff out there. So it's going to depend on proximity. But when you get one of our designs, okay, it not only is the schematic and the spec sheet and what we're using, It also comes with a walkthrough, a video, well, it's an audio walkthrough that tells you why did we use a speaker here? Why did we light this statue? Why are we using downlights? So what it's meant to be is an extension of your firm. And when you go in with this design, compared to what most competitors would be up against you, you really stand out from the crowd. So yes, we walk, these two gentlemen here and the rest of our staff walk a lot of jobs, right? But if you're 500 miles away, we have spots that we don't have coverage. But in general, we've got, between our 12 reps, that's probably 50 salespeople, and then we have 5 of our own sales reps. You're welcome. Yes. Well, ERP system. I think you've got some software companies here. I think that's a huge step, right? We had to invent, maybe we didn't have to, but we did. We invented ours as our business grew, right? And then at some point, we outgrew this dozens, 100-page spreadsheets, right? So now we have an ERP package, and it's hard sometimes to find a ERP package that fits your business exactly, right? But I think it's important. And then it's cost accounting. So your people in the job need to fill out their timesheets, ideally daily, if you're doing multiple tasks. If they're planting trees, mowing grass, that kind of stuff, that's what they do, right? But if we have them do an outdoor kitchen, we're going to be installing some audio, and I want to know what kind of money am I making on that audio. As an example, we did a lot of studies with our dealers on, we hear a lot from dealers, I got so much paver work that I don't have enough time for audio and lighting, okay? So we took that data and we analyzed it, and you should do half the paver jobs and you're going to make way more money doing the add-ons to those, right? So I think it's that kind of information, but it doesn't come easy. You've got to track it. You've got to have codes. It's got to be accurate to a certain degree. You're not going to get it exactly, but that's how we've been able to steer our business by like for us, outdoor living, number 1. New construction, number 2. Remodeling, number 3. These are profitability down, right? Kitchens, we do kitchens that are $300,000-$400,000. We also do we do some moderate work, $50,000 for a kitchen, let's say. And then bathrooms are the worst because it's the smallest dollars. It has plumbing, electrical, tile, finishes, all that. It kills us. So as business gets better, we have to very carefully be selective, right? Because you've got to be careful who you say no to. But that's how we've been able to grow our business, but also understand where we're growing is going to sustain itself and sustain the company, where there's a lot of things, and we've tried a lot of things that have failed, that are actually negative. We thought they were positive. They turned out to be negatives. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Let me know if I can help.